Oh yeah, sorry. Ellery, come back to life. Magic! You're not there. Let's see. We'll do that and check your B points now that you guys have sugary bits, and we'll see how quickly some of you die. And then grades are updated and find it on there as far as your speech goes. And
this tastes horrible.
His life is
My
thank you,
so
Cora. Excuse me.
I think the
Again,
sugar goes to me.
those of you who have points, you'll get a chance to sell or buy things again tomorrow, and I'll
Sell? It's like rabbit
buy.
chicken.
I will sell. You will buy at the end of the week.
100 points.
When I sell,
I'm
I
not even
Princess Bride, 80
I got
points.
100 B
You do
points.
it.
And again, checklist or our schedule for coming up.
Monthly payment.
Tomorrow we'll start chapter 6, Wednesday chapter 7. Thursday we are going to talk about end. Do not feel you have to wait. If you feel you have a chance to read ahead, go for it. It's up to you. Friday, we will spend, sorry, not Friday, Thursday we will spend the class talking the entire time, and it will be a take-home test on that day. Friday is when I begin telling stories to you, and we sort of wrap up end of year thing from there. Gussie?
What was that final thing?
Take an intervention.
Like that thing that was putting the final exam call on Canvas?
It's called
The thing I just talked about 8 times, I talked about the speech you gave.
What speech?
It was in third quarter.
So again, to remind you, you gave a speech where you had to stand up and talk. We did it at the very beginning as opposed to the end of the 9 weeks.
Wait, that was our final exam?
Good
For
job
the 12th
hiding.
time, that was your
He
final
wasn't here.
exam.
Good job hiding.
Yes,
that
but
it
I've
was a
talked
final
about it
exam.
18 times now, so at some
In the video.
point it has to seep through.
Good job hiding the final exam. I never suspected you.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to hide it. That's where the final exam goes. It goes in its own column. And so that's why.
No, I mean in the third quarter.
Oh.
You didn't tell us it was the final exam.
Right, well, I didn't want you guys to freak out about it, so. Plus, I figured, wait till now, you guys would have no desire for it, so. Alright.
I'm still like half seats.
Figure.
Because it's so bad.
My goal is quick rewind, and then we'll get a chance to get to today's stuff from there. Because there's a chance some kids have not gotten all the way to it, which is going to happen.
I'm only 20
Hi,
pages
Princess
away.
Bride in 60 seconds.
I did change it to Buttercup and Wesley.
Ooh.
And then there's the princess and the prince. And then again, she gets kidnapped, stolen on a boat,
No, look, I'm lighting it.
glitch and insanity, and climbing. And then we got to the thing from Friday, which was the battle and the stabbing and the sword sorting.
You have to like crush it up.
And the sword sorting.
And then you got over.
And then we got to the confrontation between Man in Black and
They got
Fezzik.
one.
He started strangling Pheasant.
He starts strangling
I don't know.
Fezzik.
I didn't see that part.
And then I had to pause it. 'Cause, sorry, we just had to take a quick math break. We're doing better-ish now. And then we had Fezzik and then the fight. And then were there questions over that part? Because then we're going to get to the fight between the Man in Black and Vizzini. Vizzini, the Sicilian, the brain. He's not a midget, he's a hunchback. There's a difference.
We just have
He's just petite
Tiny.
and
I know something.
hunchbacky.
Don't do it.
I don't even have a picture of Hoodwinked up there.
Are we gonna watch that?
I don't know what you do on the weekends.
Definitely a rookie.
Go back in there.
You didn't even have any.
My nose hurts.
Did you say your nose hurts?
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Stuff is not supposed to be inhaled. It's candy.
Alright.
Please, no, they all say.
Uh-huh.
You sneak.
You're gonna get yourself banned from buying stuff back there.
I did too.
Yeah.
You gotta roll up the sticky note.
Are we learning slowly in here?
Good stuff out.
Anyway.
Hard so in your brain.
Page 172, that's where I was going to pick up the confrontation between the Man in Black who's been following them, and it gets to Vizzini, who is the hunchback, the Sicilian, the guy that's the mastermind, since the other two have now been beaten. So partway down page 172. Inigo, who was the swordsman, and then Fezzik, who's the big guy.
Fezzik thought.
That was that scene.
Who's like
handling
Because he's handling the princess.
Big Clash of Clans
He
guy.
died?
He's not dead.
If you guys read the book, you would know what
Maybe
happened.
you should have read Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 20 pages away.
We read it.
Maybe, yeah, you can't expect him to be responsible. Good, back off. Good job, Steve. It's okay.
I read.
Vizzini was waiting for him being the man in black. Indeed, he had set out a little picnic spread. From the knapsack that he always carried, he had taken a small handkerchief, and on it he had placed 2 wine goblets. In the center was a small leather wine holder, and beside it some cheese and some apples. This spot could not have been lovelier. A high point of the mountain path was a splendid view all the way back to Florin Channel. Buttercup lay helpless beside the picnic, gagged and tied and blindfolded. Vizzini held his long knife against her white throat. "Welcome!" Vizzini called when the man in black was almost upon them. The man in black stopped and surveyed the situation. "You have beaten my Turk," Vizzini said. "It would seem so. And now it is down to you, and it is down to me." "So that would seem too," the man in black said, edging just a half step closer to the hunchback's long knife. With a smile, the hunchback pushed the knife harder against Buttercup's throat. It was about to bring blood. "If you wish her dead, by all means keep moving," Vizzini said. The man in black froze. "Better." No sound now beneath the moonlight. "I understand completely that you are trying to do," the Sicilian said finally, "and I want it quite clear that I resent your behavior. You are trying to kidnap what I have rightfully stolen, and I think it quite ungentlemanly." "But let me explain," the man in black began, starting to edge forward. "You're killing her!" the Sicilian screamed, shoving harder with the knife. A drop of blood appeared now at Buttercup's throat, red against white. The man in black retreated. "Let me explain," he said again, but from a distance. Again, the hunchback interrupted. "There is nothing you can tell me I do not already know. I have not had the schooling equal to some, but for knowledge outside of books, there is no one in the world close to me. People say I read minds, but that is not, in all honesty, true. I merely predict the truth using logic and wisdom. And I say, you are a kidnapper. Admit it." "I will admit that, as a ransom item, she has value, nothing more. I have been instructed to do so. I have been instructed to do certain things to her. It is very important that I follow my instructions. If I do this properly, I will be in demand for life, and my instructions do not include ransom. They include death. So your explanations are meaningless. We cannot do business together. You wish to keep her alive for ransom, whereas it is terribly important to me that she stop breathing in the very near future. Has it occurred to you that I have gone to great effort and expense, as well as personal sacrifice, to reach this point?" The man in black replied. "And that if I fail now, I might get very angry. And if she stops breathing in the very near future, it is entirely possible that you will catch the same fatal illness. I have no doubt you could kill me. Any man who can get by Inigo and Fezzik would have no trouble disposing of me. However, has it occurred to you that if you did that, then neither of us would get what we want? You having lost your ransom item, me my life. We are at an impasse then. I fear so. I cannot compete with you physically. You are no match for my brains. You are that smart. There are no words to contain all my wisdom. I am so cunning, crafty, and clever, so filled with deceit, guile, and chicanery, such a knave, so shrewd, cagey, as well as calculating, as diabolical as I am vulpine, as tricky as I am untrustworthy. Well, I told you there were not words invented yet to explain how great my brain is. But let me put it this way. The world is several million years old, and several billion people have at one time or another trod upon it. But I, Vizzini the Sicilian, am, speaking with pure candor and modesty, the slickest, sleekest, slyest, wiliest fellow who has yet come down the pike. In that case, said the man in black, I challenge you to a battle of wits. Vizzini had to smile. For the princess, You read my mind. It just seems that way. I told you, it's merely logic and wisdom. To the death? Correct again. I accept. Begin the battle. Pour the wine, said the man in black. Vizzini filled the 2 goblets with deep red liquid. The man in black pulled from his dark clothing a small packet and handed it to the hunchback. Open it and inhale, but be careful not to touch. Vizzini took the packet and followed instructions. I smell nothing. The man in black took the packet again. What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, and dissolves immediately in any kind of liquid. It also happens to be the deadliest poison known to man. Vizzini was beginning to get excited. I don't suppose you to hand me the goblets, said the man in black. Vizzini shook his head. Take them yourself. My long knife does not leave her throat. The man in black reached down for the goblets. He took them and turned away. Vizzini cackled out loud in anticipation. The man in black, by the way, this was, I found online, they had like a little iocane powder thing. I don't know much about it. And no, I don't have any iocane powder for you to try.
Oh.
I know, we got excited me poisoning you.
Cyanide.
I can't poison you all the time. Plus, this one's odorless, so it's not like I can have you smell it. Here's some iocane powder. You can all smell it.
You can eat it.
I mean, you could, but it also has no taste. So I could just give you water and be like, it's iocane powder. And you'd be like, oh, it tastes like water. And I'd be like, oh, weird. And you'd have no idea on that one.
But you should do that.
As much fun as lying to you would be, I'm going to try not to. Excuse me. The man in black busied himself a long moment. Then he turned again with a goblet in each hand. Very carefully, he put the goblet in his right hand in front of Vizzini, and put the goblet in his left hand across the kerchief from the hunchback. He sat down in front of the left-hand goblet and dropped the empty iocane packet by the cheese. That feels like I nailed that one also.
Mm-hmm.
Your guess, he said, where is the poison? Guess? Vizzini cried. I don't guess. I think, I ponder, I deduce, then I decide. I never guess. The battle of wits has begun, said the man in black. It ends when you decide and we drink the wine and find out who is right and who is dead. We both drink, need I add, and swallow, naturally, at precisely the same time. It's all so simple, said the hunchback. All I have to do is deduce from what I know of you the way your mind works. Are you the kind of man who would put the poison into his own glass or into the glass of his enemy? You're stalling. I'm relishing is what I'm doing, answered the Sicilian. No one has challenged my mind in years, and I love it. By the way, may I smell both goblets? Be my guest. Just be sure to put them down the same way you found them. The Sicilian sniffed his own glass. Then he reached across the kerchief for the goblet of the man in black and sniffed that. As you said, odorless. As I also said, you're stalling. The Sicilian smiled and stared at the wine goblets. Now a great fool would place the poison in his own goblet because he would know that only another great fool would reach first for what he was given. I am clearly not a great fool, so I will clearly not reach for your wine. Ah. So that is your final choice. No, because you knew I was not a great fool, so you would know that I would never fall for such a trick. You would count on it, so I will clearly not reach for mine either. Keep going. I intend to. Gesundheit. We have now decided the poison cup is most likely in front of you, but the poison is powder made from iocane, and iocane comes only from Australia. And Australia, as everyone knows, is peopled with criminals, and criminals aren't used to having people not trust them, as I don't trust you, which means I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. The man in black was starting to get nervous. But again, you must have suspected I knew the origins of iocane, so you would have known I would know about the criminals and criminal behavior, and therefore I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me. Truly, you have a dizzying intellect. You have beaten my turret, which means you are exceptionally strong, and exceptionally strong men are convinced that they are too powerful ever to die, too powerful even for iocane powder. So you could have put it in your own cup, trusting on your strength to save you. Thus, I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. The man in Black was very nervous now. "But you also bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied, because he studied many years for his excellence. And if you can study, you are clearly more than simply strong. You are aware of how mortal we all are, and you do not wish to die, so you would have kept the poison as far from yourself as possible. Therefore, I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me." "You're just trying to make me give something away with all this chatter," said the man in black angrily. "Well, it won't work. You'll learn nothing from me, I promise you." "I have already learned everything from you. I know where the poison is." "Only a genius could have deduced as much. How fortunate for me that I happen to be one," said the hunchback, growing more and more amused now. "You cannot frighten me," said the man in black, but there was fear all through his voice. "Shall we drink, then? Pick, choose, quit dragging it out. You don't know, you couldn't know." The Sicilian only smiled at the outburst. Then a strange look crossed his features, and he pointed off behind the man in black. "What in the world can that be?" The man in black turned around and looked. "I don't see anything." "Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter." The Sicilian began to laugh. "I don't understand what is so funny." "Tell you in a minute," said the hunchback. "But first, let's drink." And he picked up his own wine goblet. The man in black picked up the one in front of him. They drank. "You guessed wrong," said the man in black. "You only think I guessed wrong," said the Sicilian, his laughter ringing louder. "That's what's so funny. I switched glasses when your back was turned." There was nothing for the man in black to say. "Fool!" cried the hunchback. "You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this: never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line." He was quite cheery until the iocane powder took effect. The man in black stepped quickly over the corpse, then roughly ripped the blindfold from the princess's eyes. "I heard everything that happened," Buttercup began. And then she said, "Oh," because she had never been next to a dead man before. "You killed him," she whispered. "I let him die laughing," said the man in black. "Pray I do as much for you." He lifted her, slashed her bonds away, put her on her feet, and started to pull her along. "Please," Buttercup said, "give me a moment to gather myself." The man in black released his grip. Buttercup rubbed her wrists, stopped, massaged her ankles. Then she took a final look at the Sicilian. "To think, all that time it was your cup that was poisoned." "They were both poisoned," said the man in black. "I've spent the past 2 years building up immunity to iocane powder." Hence my shirt.
How does that work?
Building up immunity?
It works.
Just drink a little.
Take a small
Like
dose.
you take small doses.
And you gradually get bigger.
Stronger.
And then you're drinking like mountains of it.
I'm not sure we'd go to mountains, but yes, your body can build up an immunity to anything. In theory, most drugs are a type of poison that people build up immunity to. And then after a while, eventually your immunity might break down, and then that's when drugs go bad and people die. And so, you can have the same thing where, right, like you can build up an immunity to pixie sticks when you start snorting them too much. And then you're going to have to start going through entire things of pixie sticks, and that's awful. So that's how it works. You
Trying
can,
to get the most out of it.
yes, I told him. The one that went bad was going to kill all the children, and now all of a sudden you're licking the inside of the container.
It tastes like
You're doing
old
that?
lemons.
And how much of yours is left?
Just like old crackers.
Just thought I'd check. So apparently someone likes the taste of old lemons. I think that's what sour things are supposed to taste like.
It does. It tastes like cardboard. I rubbed and tried it.
Why are you still eating it?
I finished it, so
Yeah.
technically
She's
I'm
not
eating
still
it,
eating
and
it.
I
It's
snorted
all
it.
in her tum-tum.
And she's gonna snort the rest of that.
And some on the desk also. Oh,
I use it like a vacuum.
I did put a couple pictures up there. So,
I don't have a scissors.
so there's your wine I found for them doing a little thingy thing. Some iocane. And then,
Why did it look like that?
which part? The man in black?
Silly.
Here's my
I thought it was a fun picture of him throwing out his hands. He says, "My bravery is this big." He's holding out his hands.
He's kind of.
It's interesting.
He's got one gym teacher.
He's kind of.
Mr. Pollock? Yeah. Looks like
No.
You literally can see like 3 inches of his face going across.
But I already know he's kind of. He has like bars. Listen.
Did you know that he's also the guy in
He's like-
Robin Hood Men in
I am well aware, Carrie.
He's not
Elwes.
bald. You don't know that.
I watched the movie.
Yeah, he can grow hair.
He's not bald.
That is true. He is not bald.
He's kind of.
Spent the past 2 years, got that. Buttercup looked up at him. He was terrifying to her. Masked and hooded and dangerous, his voice was strained, rough. Who are you? I am no one to be trifled with, replied the man in black. That is all you ever need to know. And with that, he yanked her along. He yanked her upright. You've had your moment. Again, he pulled her after him, and this time she could do nothing but follow. They moved along the mountain path. The moonlight was very bright, and there were rocks everywhere. And to Buttercup, it all looked dead and yellow like the moon. But she had just spent several hours with 3 men who were openly planning to kill her. So why, she wondered, was she more frightened now than then? Who was the horrid hooded figure to strike fear in her so? What could be worse than dying? I will pay you a great deal of money to release me, she managed to say. The man in black glanced at her. You are rich, then? I will be. Whatever you want for ransom, I promise I'll get it for you if you'll let me go. The man in black just laughed. I was not speaking in jest. You promise, you, I should release you on your promise. What is that worth? The vow of a woman. Oh, that is very funny, Highness. Spoken in jest or not. How many of you guys have read to the end of chapter 5 and gotten to chapter 6? All right. Because for those of you who have gotten farther coming up, I'm going to stop here for a moment. There is a scene coming up, if you flip ahead, called the reunion scene. I'm not reading it to you today. I'm just wanting to inform you about it. So if you go to page 192, 193, there's a thing on there called the reunion scene. I actually have that. It's a thing that we're going to get a chance to read tomorrow. And so when you get to that one with the reading of it, and it starts talking about reunion scene, this is what they were talking about, and I will go over that with you as far as reunion scene things go. So we'll go a bit farther here, but then my goal is to read that one with you. And then tomorrow we'll do a reunion scene, and we're going to talk about what happens at end of chapter 5, because there's a part coming up where they're going to talk about the fire swamp and ROUSs and snow sand.
I finally figured out what those were.
Ruse.
Rooses.
No.
We'll talk about rooses, and then the fire swamp and the snow sand, and then there's three dangers. There are ROUSs, snow sand. Oh, then the fire pots. That's why it's called the fire swamp. And then we do finally get to meet the six-fingered man, who comes in finally at the end of chapter 5. The one.
Oh yeah, the one that killed his dad.
The one that killed his dad.
Anybody want to snort this?
What?
ABC. Anybody want to?
Well, could be. We don't know yet until we get farther into the book, and then we find out whether we have anything or not. And then, so we'll do that tomorrow. Chapter, yeah, I know, big chunk of things coming up as far as things right there. But I think we'll stop at that point. What's up, Bryce? That is the man in black. That's why he's got black and he's a man.
That's Vizzini, actually. I golfed the Clara.
Why are you sticking your scissors in the water?
Don't do that.
I saw you
Yes, you did.
Bryce, you win. You did this.
Cora, you should snort that.
Yeah, do that.
I'll snort it.
I have to clean it up.
Snort it up your glass.
Don't move to the next stage. Oh.